Welcome to That's Why Podcast with Anna and Patricia, the show where we arouse your curiosity while we dull your senses.
Hi guys, we are here again to do our episode about letting go. If you notice, we're in the same spot as our last episode because that one was our getting to know us. And we decided we'll just continue the recording.
Why not?
So we're here right now.
Yeah, getting to know us and letting go.
And letting go, yes.
Okay.
Letting go is something that's been easy for me my whole life because growing up Buddhist, we've always been taught that attachments are things that we don't need in our lives. Even at funerals, even as a kid, I was told not to cry at funerals. When my grandmother passed away, we related it to when a person's soul goes on, it's like a river that is preventing their soul from moving on because you're crying.
Wow.
And the more you cry, the bigger the river is, and they can't pass. And that's why when I'm at a funeral, I will cry, but I'll try to compose myself because we know that, I guess we don't know where the soul goes, but we have that idea in Buddhism. And attachments for me...
People, sorry about the background noise, but it's raw today, raw.
That's why, as a kid, when something happened with my friends or family, I'd be like, cool, do your thing, go, do whatever. And if
that is so poignant.
Yeah, and people would be mad. Like, if my friends are like, you know what, I feel this way. I'm like, I'm glad you feel that way. Like, well, why do you feel? And I'm like, I feel no different.
Yeah.
But, you know, I've talked about this before where other episodes I seemed like I don't care. But I think I do care if it means something to you.
Right.
But if it's going to affect me in a negative way, it is easy for me to just let go. And I have ended friendships because people separate and I don't shed a tear. I'm just like, okay, you do your thing. Go on.
You're so fortunate to have grown up with that philosophy because I think coming in the Latin community and growing up in New York, and again, I'm Dominican background, but in general, Latinos, if you let something go, it's almost as if you're saying that it was okay. And that's not, we know 2021, that's not true.
Okay.
But the more you hold that grudge, the less you feel like I'm sending a message that was not okay for this person to do that. And this is how I'm doing it. Yet I feel like like we discussed earlier, that Nelson Mandela says that you holding a grudge is like you drinking poison and expecting the other person to suffer. You're the one that's suffering because you're not able to move past. And those things make you sick.
It does.
Yeah,
it makes
absolutely.
you sick. I texted my friend Annie to see if I could reference our situation, and she said it was okay. And we were friends from... I was in like 9th grade. I met her in summer school, and she was this cute Asian girl with, a perm, and she was on crutches, and we were in class together, and this big Polynesian guy was teasing her so bad, and he was just like, and like the crutches, how it's kind of yellow. Well, it stained her underarm. And he was just like, what'd you do? Pee on your shirt? I can't stand that. And I'm like, listen.
You just want to...
Oh, yeah, totally.
Yeah.
And there is a fine line between stupidity and bravery.
Yes.
And I walk that line pretty often. And so I was just like, don't say that about her. You're like, don't you see she's got crutches on? And that's why it's staining her underarm, And ever since then, we were like this.
You came to her rescue. You defended her.
I did. And then what the cool thing is, after school, my dad picked us up and took her home. And he was like, oh, my friend lives in this neighborhood. And she's like, oh, I live in this neighborhood. And he's like, oh, my friend lives right here. And she's like, I live here. So my dad and her dad were friends.
Oh, wow.
I know. And so we have been friends ever since then. And we were just like this, glued. One day she called me and she was so mad. And she was like, did you tell, her boyfriend at the time, did you tell my boyfriend that I cheated on him? And I was like, no. Why would I care about that? Like, it doesn't even, I don't care about that stuff. And it turns out that he logged onto her profile and found out that she cheated on him. And he was just like, well, Anna told me that you cheated. And I'm just like, what? Why? And just to let the audience know, I don't care about cheating. It doesn't, if someone cheats on another person, I don't think of them differently. they're still my friend, and I still honor and I love and respect them. And some people might be like, well, that's like, you don't have any morals or whatever. Right. But why does it have to do with me?
Right, exactly. Yes,
yeah.
That's true.
So anyway, I said, Annie, I did not say anything. And she was like, well, you're not defending it. You're not telling me over and over again that you didn't say it. And I said, I only need to tell you one time.
Right.
I didn't say it, and you need to believe me. And we ended that friendship because I left it feeling like she didn't believe me and trust me. Mm-hmm. And she needed...
Right. She needed you to grovel almost.
Yes. And I can't do that. So it was like a divorce. I was so sad for years, and people would be like, where's Annie? And I'm like, we're not friends. And they'd ask her, where's Anna? And she'd be like, we're not friends. And it really was a divorce, and it was the hardest thing in my life. It was harder than my ex-boyfriend and my breakup.
Wow.
You know?
Wow.
And now we're friends again and everything like that. And I'll try to bring it up to her, like, I want to talk about the past, but she's just like, no, I don't want to talk about the past.
Yes, it's back there.
I don't want to.
In comparison to how it was, right? And if you had a battery that's full to 100%, where is that battery?
I would say 70%. Okay. Because I would love if we
could get
back to that 100%, like hang out with each other all the time.
Right.
I would love that, but it takes time, and I'm willing to be patient about that. But what I'm saying about the letting go was, for example, she was my best friend. We were like that. And I was just like, you don't believe me? Fine. If that's the type of friendship that you want someone to beg for forgiveness for something that they didn't do, that's not who I am. And so, bye. And so, yes, at that point, it was easy for me to let go, but did you still hurt? Absolutely.
Okay. See, that's really interesting, because I feel like there is a misconception that because you let go of something, it shouldn't hurt you. And that's true. That's not true.
Yeah.
You could let go of something and it still be painful.
Yes.
But you're choosing, I guess, your dignity.
Yes.
Your self-respect. Because at the time, you're basically now calling me a liar, and you should know me better, right? And so therefore I'm going to choose to walk away if we can't have a relationship of trust.
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah.
So, okay, so it did still hurt.
Yeah, it did still hurt. And then, I mean, what about you? What do you think about the friendships that you've had in the past, or...
I had a similar situation a long time ago not a long time ago. I want to say it was like maybe 6 or 7 years ago with my best friend. We had a breakup. It was like a divorce. When people found out that we broke up, I never even thought that was possible to break up with a friend. It was like we're breaking up.
Heartbreaking.
And we grew, and that battery example, we're back to 100. But it took years. And recently I did do something that was completely out of character. It changed my world completely from who I thought I knew I was. And it rocked my world. And unfortunately, this person that I hurt doesn't want my apology. And that's hard, because with my girlfriend and I, when we had that little spat, we were able to apologize to each other and maybe even figure out, where did we go wrong? What did we do wrong? But this person doesn't want to know. And that's when I'm really discovering how do I move forward without being able to say that I'm sorry. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
Now, you had a poem that you wanted to share?
Yes.
And I want to hear about that.
Okay, so Annie Jacobs, this is another Annie, by the way.
Okay.
So my friend Annie
And Annie the
Jacobs.
poet.
Yes, different. Annie Jacobs is a therapist, licensed therapist. And I asked her, I said, hey, on my next podcast, we are talking about letting go. I was wondering if you could give me an inspiring quote that could reflect something along the lines of letting go doesn't mean giving up. And this is a poem that she gives her patients, and I think you would love it. So,
okay, and I haven't heard it, guys. So
yes, this is the first.
You're hearing it live right here. Okay, let's see.
Don't cry,
make
please.
Me cry. Oh my gosh, I need a
cry.
tissue.
Okay. To let go does not mean to stop caring. It means I can't do it for someone else. To let go is not to cut myself off. It's the realization I can't control another. To let go is not to enable, but to allow learning from a natural consequence. To let go is to admit powerlessness, which means the outcome is not in my hands. To let go is not to try to change or blame another. It's to make the most of myself. To let go is not to care for, but to care about. To let go is not to fix, but to be supportive. To let go is not to judge, but to allow another to be a human being. To let go is not to be in the middle arranging the outcomes, but to allow others to affect their own destinies. To let go is not to be protective, it's to permit another to face reality. To let go is not to deny, but to accept. To let go, it is not to nag, scold, or argue, but instead to search out my own shortcomings and correct them. To let go is not to adjust everything to my desires, but to take each day as it comes and cherish myself in it. To let go is not to criticize and regulate anybody, but to try to become what I dream I can be. To let go is not to regret the past, but to grow and live for the future. To let go is to fear less and love more.
Wow. That's beautiful.
Isn't that
I
nice?
like about acceptance and moving on from who you were.
Yes.
And
growing.
knowing that, I was listening to a video at one point and it said, how do you know you want to stay with someone who's hurt you? And you ask yourself the question, is this person a good person doing a bad thing? Or is it a bad person doing a bad thing? And when you figure out that it was a good person doing a bad thing, then it's easier for you to understand, I'm going to let that go. But now that I'm going to let that go, I feel like you do that in part for the other person. But then, and I'm sorry, I didn't know this was going to get all emotional over here.
It's okay.
But then you also have to say, despite accepting that this person is a good person doing a bad thing, do I want still this person in my life? And that's the hard part. You have to accept those consequences,
Yeah.
Thank you for sharing that. That was beautiful.
You're welcome.
Yeah.
I'm glad that it helped you. I'm sorry that you're crying.
No. You know what? And you know what's interesting? Another thing about letting go. First of all, you talked about growing up Buddhist, and I think that that's so poignant because I think that religion hasn't really taught us to deal with death, We don't know what comes after this life. People want to act like they know, but we can only suspect and we want to believe. Mm-hmm. But when you don't accept, right, like your poem said, accept whether, let's say it's a death and moving on, I think it becomes very difficult for us to learn how to let go.
Ooh, exactly.
See what I'm saying?
Totally.
So being able to see the facts and being able to see the reality helps. Now, I think that in addition to that and not teaching us how to handle death, I think that's part of letting go. We have to learn something that I learned recently after this situation that I had recently about doing something that I was so out of character for myself. I learned something about myself and what type of attachment style I am. I think that there is so much that stems out of this foundation about our attachment styles. So there's 4 attachment styles. 3 of them are dysfunctional. And the 4th one is what we want to achieve.
Oh, okay.
So there's dismissant, anxious, which is what I am. And there's fearful. And then there's secure. We want to all reach the secure attachment style.
Are they levels or are they separate?
They're separate.
Categories?
They're 3 separate categories.
Okay, so you're not going from level 1 and then moving to level 2.
Exactly.
Okay,
exactly.
Okay.
And some might trickle into others. Like you may be dismissant and maybe slightly anxious for whatever reason, but you're always dominant in one. And mine is anxious style. And it says dismissant, avoidant, and they all have avoidant after them pretty much. But the secure one is the one we want to reach. And I think that that's something that everybody has to do their own homework about finding out what these are. But me knowing what anxious is, it basically goes back. You know, when you don't heal the little kid inside you, that little kid still stays there waiting to be healed. And that's why we manifest.
Healed and heard.
And we manifest so much of that behavior.
I was just going to say,
No.
kids are supposed to sit there, don't talk. Adults are talking.
Yes.
Kids, be quiet.
Yeah. And your opinion doesn't matter.
Okay.
And you don't matter. If your opinion doesn't matter, you feel like you don't matter. So basically, my mother, the way I was loved by my mother, is what has caused me to be this anxious, because my mother on the getting to know you show, Anna was joking, and we do all have our the one child that we kind of favor or that we gravitate towards. We all love listen, all you parents, don't be writing us and being like, how dare you? Look, if you're going to be real with yourself, if you have more than one child, there's always one child that you just have a deeper bond, click, connection. You love them all the same. And I tell my kids that right now. I said, I love you all the same, but I don't treat you all the same, because depending on how this reciprocal relationship works out, that's how we're going.
Yes.
Okay. You can't be the one that treats me with respect. You're always there. And then the other one who's dismissive and non-caring. And no, it's not going to work like that. Mm-mm. So point being, though, that depending on how you were loved, that's how you learn. And my mother favored my brother. And I was always fighting
for her attention,
her love.
For her love.
And the minute I saw it being pulled to be given to someone else, I would act out, or I would behave differently, or I would try to be even more. I was the kid that would do the jokes and always trying to get that spotlight, if you will, redirected, because I wanted my mom to love me, and she didn't. So a lot of that comes from that anxious. And so it makes you act out, because I haven't healed the little girl. And that little girl needs a lot of healing.
Wow.
Yeah. So it definitely helped. But I heard this man, his name is Jonathan Astley. And I heard this acronym on his YouTube channel, and I loved it. And I was like, he was talking about a book called Why Men Like Bitches. But then I thought, I want to be a bitch in my own life. And this is what bitches stands for, okay? A babe in control of her energy and soul. Oh, a babe in total control of her energy and soul. If you want to be a bitch in your own life, be a bitch or a babe that is in total control of her energy and her soul. And I think that, so letting go, you need understanding. We were going to talk about a couple of points. One thing is, so one time I saw an example of this man that was talking about letting go. And he said, I was giving a talk, and there was a woman talking the whole time to someone else. And he felt that was so disrespectful, and he was so angry.
Like he was doing a presentation?
Yeah, like a presentation.
Oh,
and in the audience, there was a woman talking.
Okay.
And again, he couldn't, it was almost like he was constantly distracted, because they were kind of like this. And he thought they were talking about him. Again, immediately, what are your insecurities and whatnot? And he reverted into that. And then come to find out at the end of the presentation, this woman couldn't hear very well, and the person was translating and talking to her in her ear.
Oh.
So all of this anger, this insecurity, are they talking about me? Are they criticizing me? All of that, he was able to let go, because he had more understanding about really what was going on.
Yes.
So many times we misinterpret, we misconstrue, we misunderstand. And that leads to this ripple effect of us building a story in our mind or ourselves, and our anger builds, our resentment, our insecurities. And then if you just knew a little bit more information, you might be able to let go of whatever it is that you conjured up, what was happening. So I think seeking understanding when you're upset about something is super helpful.
And we always try to create those stories. If we don't know the whole story, then we're just like, oh, it's because of this and that. And, we always go to the negative as well. Like what he was saying.
It's a defense mechanism, right? And I think that it helps protect us, right? Because we all want to protect our own feelings. But the other thing is, I wonder why it's so, I know that they can hurt us deeper, but I always had this idea in my mind, like, why is it so easy to forgive other people more than your friends and your family?
I wonder if it's because your friends and family, you keep them, they are close to you, so they should know better. Kind of like that, assumption. They know better. Why are they doing this?
Why are they doing that?
But if a person who's an acquaintance, they're just like, well, they don't know that I expected that, so I'm going to let that go.
Right.
But then, because I know, for example, my husband Peter, he was telling me, if you do something, that affects me so much more.
Yes.
But if someone else does something, I'm like, they're not as important.
You have more invested, I guess.
Yes,
Yeah,
they're
you
not
have
as
so much
important.
more invested. But then I guess in my mind, the love should be bigger. The forgiveness and the love should match the relationship.
Exactly.
Do you know what I'm saying?
So if the
more
closest of it-
credence.
yeah.
Yeah.
That makes sense because if they're close to you,
Right.
then it needs to match the intensity.
But sometimes
of
it's the opposite, right?
Yes.
If you hurt me slightly as a family or a friend,
I'm going to hold it. Yes.
oh, you got to work so much harder to get over it. So
Yes.
I think that's definitely something to work towards because I hurt my son. So I said something. My son pissed me off so bad the other day. And
Which one? The favorite
basically,
one?
no.
Well, okay, this is important.
My
If it's a
youngest,
favorite or-
my youngest, he goes, he takes my products
what products?
and like my hair products.
oh.
So I was in the shower. He's gorgeous and he knows it, unfortunately. But I was in the shower. Long story short, I was getting ready to go to work. I was running a little bit behind, so I was already stressed. So I'm in the shower, obviously, and naked, and I'm like, "Where's my conditioner?" And I was like, "I know who took it. I know who took it." Oh my gosh. So I get out of the shower, I walk all the way to the bathroom, to his bathroom, and sure enough, it's there. And I'm like, but I was like, before I ream him a new one, I gotta make sure it was him because I do have 2 other kids that have curly hair and they need conditioner. So anyway, I found out that it was my youngest. And I'm like, because I texted him and he's like, yeah. And I was like, you are so, and I bugged out. I was like, you are so selfish. How many times do I have to tell you? Put things back when I have to walk out how inconsiderate I was running late. And I just reamed him. Then I was like, you just messed up my day. And it's like, bye, I gotta go. That is parenting 101. You don't do that. And I was feeling terrible, but I couldn't let it go during the entire day. And I did. I reached out to him and I said, you know what? I'm really sorry. I just went crazy on you like that. Mm-hmm. But it triggered me. And he's like, you know what? I'm sorry. And I know that maybe my sorry doesn't mean much, but I'm going to show you with actions. And I was like, thank you, sweetie.
Were you like, are you going to buy that $50 conditioner that you use?
I know.
That would be the best
Thank
apology
goodness it was
ever.
I can't afford no $50
I don't know.
conditioner.
I don't know how much
but
it
you
is.
know what? And I said you need to buy your own and stuff like that. But being able to let go and own up to what you did, and I don't know, I'd like to hear from the audience.
Yeah.
Do you think sorry means anything? Does an apology go a long way once you've done something to try to redeem it? Does it mean anything? Because he said to me, again, so this situation that I had, that I lost it and I hurt someone, this person doesn't want my apology or doesn't want to hear from me, but I've never been able to say I'm sorry. And I am so deeply sorry for what I've done. But since I can't reach out, I'm just leaving it there. But when he said my sorry doesn't mean anything, I was like, no, it means a lot. Mm-hmm. I appreciate that you apologized. I think that's the beginning of trying to heal. So I want to hear from you guys.
And I
does
wanna
it
know,
matter?
Does it matter? And also,
Yeah.
what do you guys do to apologize?
Right.
Because everybody copes with things differently.
Yes.
And sometimes those skills can be taught to other listeners.
Yes.
So if you share like, well, if I did something bad, these are the steps I do. I think that's important for you guys to share. We can all learn from it,
I think so, for sure. And that's why we do this. Because sharing something, you may hear something that you've thought about a million times and somebody gets a different perspective. So I hope you guys picked up something amazing from this. Yeah.
Have I ever hurt you in any way?
No. Anna,
Oh, cool.
Actually, you make me laugh.
Oh, good.
And this is one of the reasons why I have you as a friend. All my friends have to be funny. That's actually the first on the list.
If they're not funny,
I'll be like, oh,
then you're letting
I'm
them
busy.
go. Oh,
Yeah.
you're busy.
I know for anyone I've ever said I'm busy, they'll be like, oh,
I'm
so
busy.
that's why. I see how it is.
But if you said you're busy, I wouldn't be like, what are you doing? I'm like, okay, cool.
Okay, that's okay. No doubt.
Do your thing.
All right, so do we want to...
Oh, yeah. Okay, so we want you guys to let us know about how you cope.
Yes.
How you say sorry. And
does it mean anything?
Yeah, does it mean anything? And how do you accept an apology?
Yes.
So thank you for watching this episode. And if you want to be a part of our show, email us a voice memo to that'swhyshow@gmail.com. You can find us on Apple, Spotify, Podbean, Google, and now on the YouTube.
Yeah, y'all. We're joining all you guys, you YouTubers out there.
Because now the pandemic is over, we can be together face to face. And
yes,
we could have done a recording of the Zoom meetings, but that's not fun.
Yeah, it's not the same thing. It's not the same.
Yeah, and it's an excuse for us.
Did you see how we got overclamped and we had a moment? We're over it now.
What does overclamped mean?
Verklempt? That's from SNL?
Verklempt?
Yeah.
I don't watch SNL.
Oh, dang.
When I was young, I wasn't an SNL fan. I was a Mad TV fan.
Oh, I did a little bit of both.
You did both?
Okay, well, being verklempt is like, just being kind of all emotional and taken aback and just, and then say, talk amongst yourselves. I'm a little verklempt over here. But all right, so we're going to read do you want to read it?
Nope, you go ahead.
Okay, so this is our quote for today. If you want to become full, let yourself be empty. If you want to be reborn, let yourself die. If you want to be given everything, give everything up. And with that, peace, love, and dark chocolate. Thanks for watching, guys.
Bye-bye.
See ya.